Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and it's time for the Gameweek 27 episode of 100 Experts, the video where we have a look at the expert moves from 100 top FPL managers to see what they're doing in terms of their transfers, their chips and their captains too. So loads of information here. We're going to try to find some trends to help us make our own decisions. Let's get cracking, but before we do, please do leave a like and do subscribe if you are new around here as well. Alright, so on screen you have our 100 FPL experts, pundits and content creators that have helped us out with today's video. Massive shout out to all of these guys. Do go and make sure you check them out if you see them anywhere here, there and about. But let's get on and see what these 100 people have been up to. Okay, so out of the 100 expert managers, 30% are making one transfer this game week, 14% of them are making two transfers, 2% are making three transfers, and 6% are actually activating the wildcard. But I have to admit that could increase slightly because I have seen a couple of these experts did tell me that, yes, I've not hit the wildcard button yet, but I am thinking about it. So we could see that drift up to sort of 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10% on the wildcard. So if you haven't played your wildcard already, it's definitely a move that you could consider. We've got 48% not making a transfer whatsoever, and this is actually because so many people wildcarded last game week. So if you wildcarded last game week, you're probably going to be in a situation where you don't really need to make too many transfers here. So maybe that's going to apply to you, maybe it's not going to apply to you. I guess that's kind of depends how recently you wildcarded and if there's any regrets on that wildcard as well, because one or two of our experts did regret some wildcard picks. I mean, I think I'll probably put myself in that category as well. Robert Sanchez, we may have to cover him in a little bit of detail later on in this video and in tomorrow's video as well, where I do my team selection. But for now, this is the numbers in terms of what our experts are doing in terms of their transfers. A quick note on chip usage. I don't know if there was much point in putting this slide in, to be honest, because we've already spoken about the 6% on wildcards, but I guess we have one person on a bench boost, so maybe that is going to impact your decision making a little bit. We've got one person on a bench boost. It's not a trend per se, but that is still, you know, a top manager is using a bench boost. I've seen a few top managers, to be fair, in and around the FPL space actually planning on using their bench boost this week, because it's one of those weeks where if you wildcarded recently, you're probably going to have a bench that is super strong, that maybe you're not totally, you know, happy with leaving those players and those points on the bench. A lot more people will be targeting game week 29 bench boost. That's going to be our big bench boost week for our experts, but that's not to say that we want to write off game week 27 as a bench boost week, because I actually think this is one of the alternative bench boost weeks that you could potentially go for, just because of those fixtures, just because of those strong benches as well. So definitely something to consider, but I don't think it's going to suit most people. But let's move on. Alright, in terms of the most popular Game Week 27 transfers in the world, all FPL managers in existence, all 11 million of them, or however many crazy numbers we have for playing our beautiful game at this point. Well, we can see here that Mitoma is our number one here, the number one most popular transfer in, with 390,000 transfers in at time of recording. Wouldn't be surprised to see this go all the way up to 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 by deadline. This is going to be the real big transfer for the game week. He is the fashionable pick right now. We've got Tony in here as well, number 2 with 325,000, so he's pretty popular as well. And then after that, we are mostly on our double game week players, so you can see Ben Mee there, McAllister, Solly March there, Raya and Veltman in there as well, but also a couple of Liverpool players, which is kind of interesting, plus Foden. But yeah, those Liverpool players, those Liverpool attackers seem to be really popular among the general FPL player base as well. But what I can tell you guys is that the players that are being transferred in by experts this week are slightly different to the general populace, but it seems to be really divisive, and I think we're going to have a real head-to-head battle between the experts, the kind of players experts are bringing in, and the kind of players that the more casual player, I guess, is bringing in, because it's just so different. So first of all, the expert picks, and they are Mitoma, Tony, Estupinian, McAllister, March, and Raya. So those players are also being heavily brought in by our FPL experts. You will notice that every single one of these players has a double game week, which is why they are so popular, really popular among experts and top FPL managers. There are a couple of players on here that have double game weeks that are not too interesting for our experts, but let's just go through in general all of the players that are being brought in by zero experts, and some of these players are actually also being sold by our experts as well, and they are me, Salah, Hakpo, Darwin, Foden, and Veltman. So literally, we have a divide between players that are very popular and players that are being not considered at all and actively sold in many cases. So me has got a couple of sales, Salah's got a couple of sales, Hakpo's got a couple of sales, Darwin's got a couple of sales as well. So these are being actively sold. So we're going to start seeing, I don't know who's going to end up right, because recently the experts have been taking a few L's. But let me just say that the experts versus the more casual player, I guess, there may be a little bit of a divide here. And if Liverpool go off this game week and score like 10 goals, we're going to see a problematic situation for experts. Let me put it that way. But yeah, also because we've got no Liverpool players being brought in by our experts because they do want to focus on those double game week players, we can put that to the side. But I do want to make a note on me and Veltman. Me is a player that is just constantly picked by you know, people who don't really put too much research into FPL because they just see Ben Mee. I want a Brentford defender. Ben Mee has the most points. He must be the best. That's not always the best way of looking for FPL assets. It can be sometimes, but it's not always the case, which is why I think we are going to see a couple of different Brentford defenders among our experts picks. Me is very expensive as well, so you can kind of see why experts are trying to cut some corners there and maybe getting a better player in return as well. And Veltman is just the Brighton defender who happened to score last game week. The fact that he scored last game week and has a double game week probably means a lot of people are going to be bringing him in, but Veltman, we know, is very rotation risk, and he's not a player who's going to score every week. That was his only goal he scored all season as well. Not really been too creative. I think he's had 1 assist all season as well. So yeah, Veltman, I would not be automatically assuming that he's going to get more points just because he scored a lot last week, but hey, that's just the way things roll. So let's move on and have a look at who our experts are selling. Well, James Tarkowski, what a disaster he has been. A lot of people bringing him in for his double game week where he scored no points. A lot of people bringing him in again for, well, not necessarily bringing him in again, but having him again for the following game in game week 26. Played him, started him. Again, not doing too well there. So, yeah, all in all, Tarkowski has been a massive fail. I think we all have to hold our hands up here and say, yeah, okay, we thought Everton were going to really improved defensively. We like the look of Tarkowski's attacking threat a little bit as well from those set pieces. That seemed to be what looked like was going to be a big part of Sean Dyche's tactics, I guess. It hasn't really come to fruition, and I think we just need to move him on. There's no double game weeks or anything like that coming up. There's no real point in having him. Now, a real surprise here is to see Erling Haaland with 6 transfers out of the 46 of our experts making moves this week. So, yeah, I don't really know how to feel about that one, to be honest. And I'm not fully comfortable with recommending it either. Haaland obviously plays Crystal Palace this week, which is not the worst fixture in the world, really. But admittedly, he hasn't been in the amazing form we've seen from him in the past. But I don't know, it seems risky. You can definitely understand why people are selling him, though. The fact that we've got Crystal Palace, then a blank game week for Erling Haaland in game week 28, and then in game week 29, he doesn't double. So maybe he is going to be one of those players who we don't need to have right now, but I think this is maybe taking him out 1 game week too early. But I guess if you need to remove him to get certain other players in, then you need to do it. So whatever, moving on. Andreas being sold. Obviously, he's that kind of 5th midfielder, maybe looking to get some Brighton midfielders in his place. Mahrez, really rotation risk at the moment, not really playing enough minutes, so he's being sold. Martinelli and Ødegaard, the 2 Arsenal men there, are being sold as well. Again, if you're going to have to get a Brighton midfielder in somehow, you're going to have to sell somebody, and a lot of people do have the likes of Martinelli and Ødegaard. Probably looking to keep Saka. No one's selling Saka, so maybe if you have to sell one of your Arsenal midfielders, it's going to be that Martinelli/Ødegaard slot, I guess. Sanchez, the goalkeeper extraordinaire, who it's been recently announced that he is no longer first choice goalkeeper for Brighton. Real disappointment there, and therefore a lot of people who wildcarded him in last game week are now transferring him back out again. And we're going to have a look at some of the options if you want to transfer him out and who to bring in instead of him. Although one thing that should be noted, a lot of our experts are actually keeping Sanchez as well. So I'm not trying to sit here and tell you have to sell Sanchez. I think I'm personally going to keep him, and I'll talk about why a little bit in tomorrow's video where we talk about my own situation and my own team, and maybe that will resonate with you a little bit. But there still are options in order to remove him and bring someone else in, particularly if you don't have a second choice goalkeeper to cover Sanchez, I guess. And we've got Bueno and Nketiah in there as well. Let's have a look at some transfers in. Oh, a quick note on Nketiah. Hasn't trained. Should definitely be sold if possible if you have him. Let's move on to transfers in. Okay, Ivan the Tony Terrible is number one. A fantastic work here to see him for the second game week in a row, the most popular transfer in by experts. The experts love Tony at the moment. I love him too. We're going to see a little bit more data about captaincy as well. And spoiler alert, Tony is definitely in the captain running for this game week, and we'll have a look at the exact numbers soon, but you guys probably already guessed that, to be fair. But yeah, Tony, if you don't have him already, he's probably going to be the priority transfer for you this week. Our experts agree. Loads of people brought him in last game week, and even more bringing him in this game week. It is going to be a case of, if you don't have Tony, he is the number one transfer target to bring in. End of story there. There's no debates to be had, I don't think. Everyone seems to agree on that one. Next up is kind of the midfielders from Brighton. So we have got Mitoma as the most popular transfer in among Brighton midfielders right now. I'm going to try and hold my tongue on this one because you guys know who my favourite midfielders are, but Mitoma is just so clinical, and, you know, he's such a fashionable pick right now and a joy to watch on the football pitch. You can understand why people are, you know, taking a little bit of a risk on him, but yeah, again, maybe I'll leave the conversation there. But yeah, we've got Estupiñán, a lot of popular transfers in for him. Brighton defender, playing at left back, playing advanced up the pitch with a little bit of creativity. Henry, same position, same situation with Rico Henry there, playing for that Brentford defence, which is pretty nice indeed. He's the number one pick in terms of our Brentford defenders. So Ben Mee, get in the bin. Don't even think about it. Why spend 5.1 million on Ben Mee, who is just going to sit at centre back, when you get a Rico Henry who's going to be playing advanced, playing a little bit creatively, creating chances for his teammates, maybe even picking up bonus points if he is, you get bonus points just for creating chances. The striker or whoever you pass it to doesn't even need to finish off the chance. You just get the bonus points for doing stuff like that. So yeah, Henry's definitely going to be really, really beneficial to have, I think. We've got March and McAllister, the two other Brighton midfielders that definitely are worth considering. But yeah, Mitoma seems to be the most popular pick of the three among experts and among everyone, to be fair. Everyone's got Mitoma mad, which is fair enough. But yeah, moving on, we've got Raya. So a few people selling Sanchez and bringing in Raya this game week, particularly if you don't have the third Brentford slot occupied already, then a straight swap is really, really easy. It's a really easy decision for you. And that's definitely what I would be doing if I didn't already have three Brentford players. I think one of our experts is making a double transfer and removing a Brentford defender and replacing them with Estupiñán and actually selling Sanchez and bringing in Raya. So making that double transfer, taking a -4 to just try to correct the situation in a way. Don't think that's essential. Only one person's doing that, but it's definitely an option for you. And three people doing the Sanchez to Steele move as well, which I don't know. It could work out. I don't know for 100% sure yet if Steele is going to be the definitive long-term first choice keeper for Brighton going forward. It's still very up in the air, and I don't know if that fully fixes the problem. But again, this video is not about my opinions, and three of our experts are removing Sanchez and replacing him with Steele as a pretty direct player-to-player kind of transfer, a pretty sideways move to get the same kind of team, keep your structure in the same place as you wanted previously, but saving a little bit of money in the process, freeing up a little bit of money and hopefully getting that player who's a little bit more nailed on, even if he is not 100%. So there we go. Those are the most popular transfers in. Let's suggest some transfers for you. All right, Erling Haaland out to Tony in. I don't know how I feel about this. I wish we saw Nketiah with more transfers out, but I think a few people have already sold him, to be fair. But I would go Nketiah to Tony if possible. But I guess Haaland, he's being transferred out by a lot of people, and he's been sold for Tony a few times. So maybe that's something you can consider. If that's your only route to get Tony, then I guess you're going to just have to do it. You're going to have to do it. I imagine Tony outscores Haaland over the next 3 game weeks by quite a lot of points, considering Haaland plays 2 fixtures in the next 3 and Tony plays 5 fixtures in the next 3. So pretty straightforward, I suppose, from that perspective. So yeah, not a bad move to make. Tarkowski or any other defender you have that you don't really want. We saw a couple of sales from Akanji and Ake as well among our experts. There are a few general defenders that a lot of people don't really like to have right now. If you've got a defender you don't want anymore, switch them out, get in Estupiñán or Rico Henry. Those are probably going to be your top 2 picks for defenders for the double game week. I would maybe prioritise Henry if you haven't got yourself fully covered for game week 28. Or you are not free hitting in game week 28, then Henry. If you are free hitting in game week 28 or planning on doing it, then Purvis Estupiñán would be the player I would slightly prefer to go for. So again, going to depend on your situation, but both of them are great picks for everyone, really. Some more suggested transfers. Basically, what we've got here is whatever midfielder you got that you don't like, transfer them out for a Brighton midfielder. Andreas, going to be a very popular player to remove if you can afford to upgrade him to a Brighton midfielder. Mahrez there is definitely a player who's pretty easy to sell right now. And I put Ødegaard here as well. Maybe I slightly probably would prefer to sell Ødegaard than Martinelli right now, just because I think Martinelli is actually going to be playing as striker this game week. So yeah, I slightly prefer to sell Ødegaard, but again, Ødegaard, Martinelli, if you're planning on benching these players anyway, or you would just prefer to move them on to a Brighton midfielder, I think that's definitely something that's on the cards for you. So Brighton midfielder, in they come. The most popular Brighton midfielder is Mitoma, followed by McAllister, followed by March, I believe, which kind of reflects how many points they scored last game week, which is why March isn't popular, I guess. But yeah, nobody loves March anymore. Let's move on to captaincy, where again, we may have a little discussion about March. All right, so our top FPL expert captain picks, we've got a clear favourite. Which is something we haven't had in a few weeks. So previously, guys, we've had these real split, like 50-50 decisions, or more likely, it's usually been like 45% on one, 44% on another, and then the other players making up the rest of the numbers there. So this week, we actually have a clear answer, I think, or at least reasonably clear answer. So if you guys were coming into this video with no idea who's the captain, or unsure, or maybe 50-50 or something like that, then hopefully this is going to answer your question that Tony is in fact going to be the most popular FPL captain for Game Week 27 among top FPL managers. He just is, and we could expect Tony's effective ownership to be well over 100%, meaning that if you don't actually we'll leave that. I'm getting too complicated here, and I was just going to confuse people the more I talk about effective ownership. Join my Twitter at FPL Mate if you want to talk more about effective ownership in FPL. But yeah, maybe some of you guys can talk about it in the comments if you want, but let's just say Tony might actually damage you if you don't captain him. Right, Mitoma is the next player here. Leeds and Crystal Palace fixtures there, which is pretty nice indeed. 20% is a decent number as well, you know, so it's not like Mitoma is a really obscure out there captain. He has really got some real support here this game week as kind of the captain that you'd want to go for. So yeah, definitely the most popular differential captain, and he's probably going to be the second most popular captain this game week among active managers, I suppose. And we have got Salah and Alexis McAllister here as well. People backing Salah after his haul last week. He's got a good fixture against Bournemouth. So if you have got Salah and you don't really have full faith in, you know, these double game week players who, you know, they're not like elite players, are they? They're very good players, but they're not like elite players. If you want to go for an elite player instead, then Mo Salah could be an option for you there. And finally, Alexis McAllister, the man on the pens, the man playing attacking midfielder, getting far more chances than ever before. He's rising in popularity, particularly after his haul in Game Week 26, and he is up at 3% captaincy, which is not too bad. 3% is the beginning of a trend. So, you know, I think he is definitely a player to consider as well. But the numbers on screen, guys, I don't know if there's any mathematicians watching right now, but you may have noticed that these numbers only add up to 98%, and we need to add 2 more 1%ers to this list. And the 2 1%ers are March and Pinnock. So one person is thinking about captaining March, which is probably, for me, the biggest shock of this entire video. Because for me personally, yes, I accept that Tony is probably the sensible captain pick, but I've been thinking all week, I might go for a little bit of a differential punt on March. I think March is probably the second best captain, so maybe I'll go for him. I don't know for sure if I'm going to take that risk, but March is 1%, so nowhere near popular in terms of the experts, and maybe I do need to question myself a little bit here. That's what these videos are about, really, trying to question what we are thinking compared to what top FPL managers are up to, and maybe I'm not a top FPL manager after all. Maybe I got a bit too big for my boots there, but who knows, guys. And the other player, Pinnock, on 1% as well, and at first I thought, is this a troll? Is this, you know, is this like maybe a not so good FPL manager? Maybe picking Pinnock as their captain? But no, you know, the guy who's planning on captaining Pinnock, he's a very, very good FPL manager. He's got some very decent finishes in the past. I don't know what his reasoning is behind that, but yeah, someone's captaining Pinnock as well. But we don't need to talk about the 1%ers too much because they're kind of just so out there. There's no trends there. There's no point talking about them really. So yeah, overall, Tony, Mitoma as a differential there, Salah, McAllister, potential real outside picks there as well, and that really concludes the captaincy. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please remember to leave a like. It really does help out the channel. Do subscribe if you're new around here as well. Don't forget to check out some of the other content. We uploaded a wildcard video and chip strategy video earlier on today, so go check that out. We've also got buy, sell, keep, avoid, the tier list video, and we had a really nice long strategy stream where we discussed a lot of details among the Brentford and Brighton players especially. So do make sure you go check that out and have a look. We discussed captaincy as well a little bit there, so definitely worth a watch if you've got a little bit of free time for some FPL content. But aside from that, guys, we'll be back tomorrow with another video, my team selection video, where I've got loads to talk about. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.